and welcome back to the Restricted View podcast.
Hello, everybody.
I am Deborah.
I am Chris.
And as always, we have a great episode for you, full of, tips and reviews and all sorts of good things. And actually today we have, after 2 weeks of lists, we have actually gone to shows, so we have a brand new review for you.
Yes, you won't know this, but we haven't recorded actually for a little bit because we've been busy. We've been going out most weeks and seeing 1 or 2 shows. Yes,
actually, this coming week, when you're listening to this, we are probably going to 2 shows. We have a 2-show day coming up this week, which is very exciting. We haven't done that for a long time.
One of our trademark double feature shows.
Yeah, it's always usually a long day, but usually good fun.
It will be a long day, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, so we'll have some more reviews coming up in the coming weeks as a result. But we also, of course, have one of our world-famous tips.
World famous.
We've got some news, of course, which for one, because we haven't recorded in a while, we actually have some slightly more breaking news than usual.
Yes, and Chris is very excited about it.
I am indeed. And we have a discussion topic in our Fire to My Notes section, which will be slightly polarising, we believe.
Yes, but interesting to talk about anyway, and we'll be looking forward to hearing what you have to say about it.
Yes, as always, do go to the restricted.view on Instagram, and please do comment below on the episode's photo.
Or on any photo, because we've been posting photos even when we don't have episodes. If we see something nice, we'll pop it up there.
Indeed, do please comment anyway and let us know what you think. But without any further ado, we're going to go straight on to this week's news. So this week's news is actually re-news in a way. This was actually news that came out last year, but then was cancelled because of the pandemic, and I had never known about it.
I think it was about January last year, so really last year, like over a year and a half ago.
So yeah, just before things got bad.
Yeah.
And the news is that there is a very classic British sitcom which is getting a stage adaptation.
And it's not Fools and Horses.
It's not only Fools and Horses.
Only Fools and Horses, sorry.
Which I still haven't seen, actually. I've never seen that much of the TV show, so I've never been a huge fan of it as a result. But I at some point I plan to go to it.
Coming back? Well,
yeah, I think so. But I'm definitely going to be going to see this, because this is an adaptation of one of my all-time favourite sitcoms, and it is The Good Life.
Yes. I was introduced to The Good Life by Chris. I've seen all the episodes, at the moment, and I have rewatched some of them as well. Especially the Christmas ones. We kind of have this tradition of watching them at Christmas time, and it's definitely very good. I think it's from the 70s, isn't it?
Yeah, 1975 it was originally broadcast in.
So if you're going to watch it now, obviously some of the stuff is a bit dated. There's some of the stuff that probably wouldn't live up to our kind of new morals of 2021. However, it's still a very good and very funny show.
I don't think it's a particularly problematic sitcom.
No. I think there's some stuff that wouldn't get by today. Kind of some sexist remarks and things like that.
Oh sure, yeah. That's
that
true,
would not work today as well. But you kind of take it with a pinch of salt. It was filmed in the 70s.
Yes.
And we've come a long way.
It was written by Bob Larby and John Esmond. And
this is a sitcom, not the play.
The sitcom, yeah, and it starred, of course, Richard Briers, Felicity Kendall, who's actually currently about to start performing in Anything Goes. The late, Richard Briers has also passed away a few years ago, very sadly. It also starred the late Paul Eddington, who many of you might know from Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, who was a comic actor taken from us far too soon. And of course the wonderful Penelope Keith was also in it, which I think actually that's probably going to be the biggest problem in a way with seeing the stage adaptation. I cannot see who is going to play Margot
and live up to it.
Yeah, I don't.
Right?
It's I think they were all 4 of them were fantastic in their roles, and all 4 of them were incredibly iconic.
Yeah, I think
all 4 of them will be hard to replace.
Very much so.
But particularly Penelope Keith's Margot.
Yes. I think this is everyone from the UK listening to this probably knows about this show because it's such a popular sitcom in the UK. But if you're my friend listening from Brazil, do watch it because it's very good.
Yeah, it's very, very pleasant, very kind of wholesome.
Very wholesome. Yes, very wholesome.
Yes, and it has some great laugh out loud moments as well as being just amusing and throughout.
So it's about a couple who basically decide to abandon the rat race and just live off the land, which is kind of very current in a way.
Yeah, it is actually. The first episode is Tom Good is turning 40, and he's not happy. Basically,
he's like done with capitalism.
Basically, yeah, and they decide to become self-sufficient, which isn't particularly amusing in of itself. But they decide to do it whilst living in Surbiton.
Very posh area, in case you
quite
don't know.
Quite a posh, yeah. So and the whole. I remember one of the writers. I think it was Bob Larby said that the reason he thinks it works is because they're really good friends with their neighbours. So their neighbours are even posher than they're relatively posh people because they're well off. But their neighbours, the Ledbetters, are very posh and very rich and very proper. And keeping pigs in their neighbours keeping pigs in their garden is absolutely a no.
Especially for Margot.
But because they were friends, it creates this interesting dynamic. If they weren't friends, it would just be about neighbours arguing.
Yeah.
But because the neighbours are actually friends with each other, it works really well.
It really does work, and it's a lovely show to watch.
It is, and I'm really excited about this. I don't know how it's going to work, but Rufus Hound is playing not Richard Bryce, playing Tom Good, and I'm actually quite a big fan of Rufus Hound. I find him very funny. I think is this my bias talking? I think he's a good fit. I think he'll
work. Yeah.
I think he'll definitely play it very differently, in many ways. But I also think he kind of has that childish sense of fun that Tom has. I think he'll kind of pull that off quite nicely.
I think so. I'm excited. I didn't know about it until a couple of days ago when the news came out. Because apparently Catherine Parkinson, so if you've seen the IT Crowd, it's Jen from the IT Crowd. She is pretty successful and famous in her own right. She was going to play Barbara Good. But now this is news from last year, and in this piece of news that we read a couple of days ago, this is not it doesn't mention her, so we don't know if she's coming back. But it'd be great if she did.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, I we've seen Catherine Parkinson in Home I'm Darling,
yes,
on the West End, and she was rather good. I've actually never been a huge fan of hers on television. But I actually did then seeing her live in maybe it's more her element on stage. I actually did quite enjoy her, and I would actually think she'd be quite good.
I think she'd be quite good at Barbara as well. I think so. And then we saw her in Taskmaster as well, and she was just as clueless as I would have been.
You know, seeing her in Taskmaster, because you get to see her, really endeared her to me quite a lot.
Oh, poor woman in her masks.
Oh yeah! Oh my goodness. But yeah, so
if you watch Taskmaster, let us know. We can talk about that for ages as well.
Taskmaster the musical, make it happen. But yeah, so The Good Life is going to be a UK tour. It's in 2021, which is this year. Obviously, it's starting in the Theatre Royal in Bath from 7th to the 16th of October. It's going to move to Cheltenham, Cheltenham Everyman from 19th to 23rd of October. It's going to move on to the Salford Lowry. Presumably named after Lowry,
the artist.
I assume
presumably.
So it's in the Salford Lowry from the 26th to the 30th of October. Oxford Playhouse 2nd to the 6th of November. Cambridge Arts Theatre from the 9th to the 13th of November. Malvern Theatre Theatres from the 16th to the 20th of November, and the Richmond Theatre in London from the 23rd to the 27th of November. And actually, there is just one more. I thought that was the last one. It's also going to be in Chichester from the 30th of November to the 4th of December. And with the exception of a couple of venues, which are not just selling tickets just yet, tickets are on sale. So it's only staying in each venue for about 4 or 5 days, it seems. So if you're interested, definitely get booking straight away. I think we'll probably end up booking our tickets as soon as we finish recording this podcast.
Yes, most likely.
But yeah, it's a really, look, we don't know if it's going to be a good show or not, but it's based upon a really wonderful sitcom. It looks like it's going to have a good cast, and
it looks like the goat's going to be there, and you need Geraldine to be there.
You can't have The Good Life without Geraldine the goat.
Exactly.
So yeah, just definitely check it out, guys, and hopefully we will see you there.
So this week's review is of one of my newfound love of mine now, Hairspray.
Oh, you're just giving away your opinion.
Yes, I know, but I'm too excited about it. Oh my god. Yeah,
so we saw Hairspray on opening night at the London Coliseum,
which is a lovely, lovely theatre. I love the Coliseum.
Yeah, it's
it
great
just always feels like an occasion.
And
lots
when you
of
go happy to the memories
Coliseum.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of great shows we've seen there.
So we were there on the 21st of June, which was the first night they performed, and I don't know about you. I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel that everyone's spirits is very like get very excited. Everyone gets very excited, especially after all this time with no theatre. So you can feel the atmosphere in the place to be very excited, very, very, I don't know, just kind of very emotional to be back. And I think just not just the audience, but also the actors. And this was just the first day.
At the end.
It was very evident.
The ovation at the end, it was very evident that that the fact that the audience were so happy to be there, and that the cast were also so happy to get the reception they did, and to welcome back onto the stage, basically.
Yeah, Hairspray was meant to. This production of Hairspray was meant to have opened on the 23rd of April, 2020. So we actually never got to open last year, and it's such a it's a delight that it.
Just an example of how fast time has gone.
Yeah, it's been over a year. It took over
like
a year for them to open, to actually be able to open, and they managed to keep most of the same cast.
Yeah.
Apart from Paul Merton, I believe.
Yeah, Paul Merton was going to play Wilbur, and he was replaced by Les Dennis because of scheduling conflicts.
Yeah.
Les Dennis was rather good, actually, and he's played the role before, quite a while back, apparently. He's also done quite a lot of musical theatre. Les Dennis, yeah, he's not someone you associate with it, but he has actually done. He's trod the boards quite a lot, and he's quite. Les Dennis is quite likable. I quite like Les Dennis, but I was quite looking forward to seeing Paul Merton, because Paul Merton forgot because Wilbur is quite a happy, upbeat character, and Paul Merton, I think,
soft edges character,
and Paul Merton forgot how to smile genuinely sometime in the 90s. So, his sarcasm. He's one of the most sarcastic comedians of all time. Yeah. And and I just was really fascinated to see.
He would have been great, but Les Dennis did a great job as well.
Yes,
and it was such a so it was so great to see Michael Ball again, and he was reprising his role as Edna
on the Coliseum stage yet again.
Yes, and he has played Edna Turnbull before.
Turnblad.
I always think it's bold for some reason.
Yeah.
Before, and he's just great at it.
Yeah, he's particularly good at even our friends we've mentioned before who's not a big Michael Ball fan.
Turns out it's just one of them.
But even one of the ones who doesn't like Michael Ball, particularly, says he does like him in this role.
Yes, exactly. So I had never seen Hairspray before. I actually did some homework before going to the theatre and watched the film with John Travolta.
Yes, I had seen that film back as a teenager.
I didn't know what to expect. I obviously knew Good Morning Baltimore, which is, I think, the most... Well, You Can't Stop the Beat's also very famous.
You Can't Stop the Beat. You Can't Stop the Beat.
Famous songs.
You Can't Stop the Beat is maybe 8,000 to 9,000 times more famous than Baltimore.
Really?
Yeah, that's the song.
I think that's the one I knew. Good Morning Baltimore, I think, is the one I knew, though.
You Can't Stop the Beat is the one everyone knows.
Anyway, I knew those two. And then I saw the film. I really enjoyed the film. Obviously, it has some Hollywood moments that you probably wouldn't find on stage. And it's a little different from the stage show.
It omits some of the numbers as well, I believe.
Yes, it does. There's some numbers that are on the stage show that are not on the movie. I believe one of them is Mama, I'm a Big Girl Now.
Oh yeah.
Which I was surprised because I was not expecting it, obviously, because it opens very similar to the film, and then then it goes to.
And some songs are also in slightly different places in the running order.
Yes,
I Can Hear the Bells was much earlier in the stage show.
Yeah.
Than it was in the film, but it works fine in both places, I guess.
It definitely
doesn't make any difference really. But yeah, so I mean, we had obviously Michael Ball, we've mentioned, Les Dennis we've mentioned. We had
Tracy was played by Lizzie B, I believe.
Yep.
And she was very likable and very endearing and very good. I really enjoyed her performance.
Just like Tracy Turnblad needs to be.
Exactly.
We had Marisha Wallace as Motormouth, is it?
I think that's her name. Yes.
It's a bizarre character name. Deborah's going to check that up. But yeah, Marisha Wallace played that character. I think her name is Motormouth. And we've seen her before in Waitress at the Adelphi Theatre. We actually saw Waitress, I think, 4 times, and we saw Marisha Wallace in every single time. We never got the understudy. We always saw Marisha Wallace.
Motormouth, you're correct.
Motormouth, way, I was right. So we've seen her multiple times in Waitress playing Becky, and she was she's always very good.
If you remember in the film, it's Queen Latifah plays her character, which I was surprised by. That film is full of famous people.
So Becky in Waitress is not it's not a great role for showing. I mean, it's a pretty good role, but it's not a great role for showing off.
She has
your
one
chops.
big number, but yeah.
Does she?
She has one number, one solo.
One solo?
In Waitress.
I
yes.
don't even remember that. I saw that 4 times and I remember that.
She does.
But this definitely gave Marisha Wallace much more opportunity to show off her chops.
And the audience loved her.
The audience did love her.
As she deserves, because she was very, very good.
Yeah, she was very good.
In the role. I particularly liked Seaweed. I think the actor was very good, and you have his name written down.
Ashley Samuels, it looks like.
Yes,
although I can't read my own writing very well.
He was very good, and he was a brilliant dancer as well, which is what you want to see.
And then just to round out the main cast, we had Johnny Amies as Link, who seems to be. I think it might even have been his West End debut. He hasn't done a huge amount before. He was pretty good though as well. And Rita Simons, who apparently is of EastEnders fame, but that means nothing to me, played the evil. I can't remember her name. The nasty woman who's a racist.
Yep. She does. Yeah, and I like. She's played by Michelle Pfeiffer. It's Velma von Tussle. In the film, she's played by Michelle Pfeiffer, and she. I actually think her song is. It just sounds like a Disney villain song.
I agree. She gives Cruella de Vil vibes.
Very much so, which I enjoyed.
She's very panto villain, which is kind of odd in some ways. So the plot of Hairspray is essentially about a young girl, Tracy Turnblad, who is she's lives in Baltimore. She loves the Corny Collins show, which is basically a music and dance show where a lot of the cast is made of local children. It's like
teenagers.
Teenagers, and they sing and dance basically, and that she loves going home and watching it and singing and dancing along.
This is the 60s, by the way. Yeah. I think that is very important because we have a lot of segregation happening in the USA.
Well, yes, that's exactly. I was about to get to that.
It's the main kind of drive of the plot, I think.
It is, yeah. So black teenagers only get to partake once a month. And the rest of the time they don't get to dance at all. And when there's a scene when they're dancing in the school hall or something, and there's segregation, like they're literally dancing in two groups.
Yeah.
Basically, so Tracy wants to get on the show because she just really loves it. And then she also ends up becoming a kind of an ally and an activist to the black community. Because she's not motivated. It's kind of interesting. She's not motivated by any. Like she doesn't come across as being like it's not even something that occurs to her that she just wants it to be integrated because she thinks that'd be more fun. She's not even particularly motivated by a political angle. She's so pure about it that she's just like, what? Why can't we dance together? That makes no sense.
Exactly.
That's dumb.
She hasn't. I guess she's seen the implications of the segregation, but she doesn't understand them. I don't think she has considered them deeply.
Yeah, but she's a young girl. Like she's 16 or so.
But I think it kind of almost shows how I don't know, maybe how society corrupts people after they age, like how they're kind of more easy. Like there's no.
Racism, the whole concept of
racism
is taught.
It's an invented, it's created concept rather than being a natural thing. Yeah. Because for her, it's just like, I want to dance. I'm friends with them. They are brilliant dancers, and she thinks they are the best, basically. And she wants to see them dance all the time, and she wants to dance with them. So she doesn't think about why they shouldn't be dancing together. She doesn't understand that that's why that's a thing.
And it's weird because it's a really light-hearted show. Pretty much always, and yet has this undercurrent of this incredibly important and super, deep and
current
that's the other thing I want to say. I mean, because the other thing is because obviously in the whole current time of Black Lives Matter movement, the idea of segregation, even though this is the 60s, is just as current, if not more current than ever. I mean, I suppose specifically segregation isn't current, but we still have everything that goes with the Black Lives Matter movement is incredibly current right now. And then also Tracy is always deliberately cast as an overweight teenager. And with, I think body shaming and body positivity and all that is also incredibly current.
Yeah, she never mentions not wanting to be the way she is.
No, and
she wants to be part of the show as she is.
Yes,
which is quite nice.
And one of the things I remember noting when we saw the film the other day was that her first song, "Good Morning Baltimore," is kind of the classic "I Want" song from the heroes often give, protagonists often give at the start of a show. But it isn't an "I Want" song; it's actually an "I Am" song almost. She doesn't actually want for anything. She's got a very simple life, but she's happy with it.
Yeah.
And I find that very endearing as well. That her song "Good Morning," her "I Want" song is basically just, this is me. This is what I do every day. I go to school. This is where I live, and I go to school and I come home and I watch my favorite show and I dance to it. Oh, it'd be great if I could dance on the show, but if I did, it's fine. I love dancing to that home. And
she has a good friend. She has a best friend. There's no conflict there. There's no friendship conflict.
No,
you know, there's no
no forced rubbish like that.
No, and it's just.
And she's happy with her weight as well.
Yes.
She has her mother, who's played by Michael Ball. In a tradition started in the original John Waters film that a man plays Edna Turnblad. Her mother is very self-conscious about her weight, and Tracy is really supportive and genuinely supportive, and she doesn't say stuff like no one's going to care that you're overweight or no one's going to mention that you're overweight. She's going to say, why should you care? Basically, they will they might say it, they might comment, but forget them.
It doesn't change anything. You know, you be who you are. So and I think that's kind of the message as well in the end, because Edna then sings, "You can't stop my happiness because I like the way I am."
Yeah,
which is such a great line in a song.
And you also can't stop my knife and fork when I see a Christmas ham.
No, you can't.
If you don't like the way that I look, I just don't give a damn. And it's really good. And I do like, and that's why I think Tracy's one of my favorite characters now from musical theatre. I think she is so genuinely pure. And because I think I mentioned to Deborah once, sometimes when you see these characters, you know, this is getting possibly a bit deep in real life now, but sometimes when people are supportive of their friends, they I'm sure they're trying to be good, but they might lie essentially and say no one's going to think you're fat, right? But they probably will. But the point is that you shouldn't care, because screw those people.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the advice. And I really like the subtle difference that the advice Tracy gives her mother is not to care, not that people won't, that other people
won't see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such a feel-good show, and I think it appeals to anyone and everyone, I think, will enjoy this show.
Yeah.
I don't really think, I mean, unless you don't like musicals, but I think it's just really good.
Why are you here?
Well, quite.
But yeah, it's incredibly feel good, but with this really dark undercurrent.
Yeah, I mean, look, it talks about, it deals with lots of issues, and it's set in the 60s. I'm not quite sure when it was first written, because it was first a film, wasn't it?
It was a film by John Waters originally.
Yeah, so,
it was a non-musical film.
It deals with racism and segregation in the USA, and he deals with kind of body positivity and like fat shaming, and you know how to overcome that. And I really like, and this is something, it's I read this book recently called What White People Can Do Next. It's by Emma Dabry. She's an Irish Nigerian academic, and she was actually in Have I Got News for You recently. I love her. I love her. Read her books. But basically, and she talks about allyship, and she talks about how we have to kind of move beyond that to coalition and find ways in which our plights and our fights are the same. And I think Hairspray does that, because you kind of find ways, things to fight for. Not saying that one fight is necessarily less important or more important than another fight, and there's a time for every debate and for every conversation. Sure, not trying to erase anything, but kind of joining forces against those who are oppressing us, rather than kind of separating and trying to kind of,
rather than infighting.
Yeah, rather than infighting, but also kind of segregating within the kind of the movement, you know. Yeah. Which is very interesting. It's a very good book, by the way. Very, very interesting.
And also, I feel like Hairspray at no point tries to, dare I say, weaponize the issues that it's using to kind of get cheap applause, if that makes sense. So at no point that sense might have been confusing. Basically, at no point does Hairspray kind of stand on a soapbox and say racism is bad, applaud us. You know, it's because that's dumb, because it's obvious that racism is bad. And so you shouldn't applaud someone because they say racism is bad. And the show doesn't do that. The show is much more I think clever and subtle.
Well, it shows you rather than tells you.
Yeah,
I think, and that's such a merit of the show.
And it doesn't give me a vibe of, hey, look at us, we're so virtuous.
Yes,
it doesn't give me that vibe, which I think is really good. I think it's genuinely portraying bad things and then the virtue of being against those bad things. Yeah, and I think that's why I like Tracy so much. She is genuinely virtuous.
Yeah, I quite like the fact as well that we move away, we avoid, and I think Hairspray avoid the kind of white savior theme, there's so many of that, like, it could have so easily fallen into, because even though we are following Tracy is our main character, she kind of joins the black community into, like, with their fight to be able to have more space on TV and to be able to, like, dance together. They are, when that time comes, then they take center stage. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very important. I think the show does that very well.
This brings me on to I suppose onto the area of the film, just to a certain extent, the film versus the stage show, because the one way in which kind of the one way in which the stage show maybe does kind of fall into the white savior category a little bit. I mean, it doesn't actually. It's not actually. No, it's not that it falls into the white savior category. It's just that the film made a change which I really like.
Yes.
Which is that at the end of the show, when Tracy wins the Miss Hairspray...
Spoiler alert.
It's a feel-good musical, come on.
Yeah.
She wins the Miss Hairspray...
In the musical.
In the musical. In the film, and obviously because it's the first time we'd seen the show, I assumed it was the same way, it's Seaweed's little sister, whose name I can't remember.
Yes, she is the one who wins in the film.
So it's a black teenager who wins it. And I think
it's Prudence, I think. No, sorry, no, that's Benny's mother. Sorry, got confused.
Prudence.
Got confused.
But yeah, so Seaweed's younger sister wins it, and I think that was, so it kind of, I don't know, I really liked the fact that that when they all get to dance together on stage, and this young black girl is the best, basically is the best dancer that everyone likes, and the phone lines explode, and everyone starts voting for her. And she wins. What's her name?
Ines. Looks like Ines.
Little
Stubbs.
Ines Stubbs.
Yeah.
I really liked that in the film version. In the stage show, there's none of that. It's basically just a straight race between the villain.
I think the difference is that in the show, the competition is between It's not open to all of the girls.
Well, is it not?
No, because in the counter on
no,
stage,
I know the counter doesn't have all their names on it. That doesn't mean necessarily that.
Sure, it just shows Ember and Tracy, right? Whereas in the film you have all of the names.
Yeah.
And then you could potentially then include Ines.
But Ines wasn't on that board in the film either.
No, I guess
and
she
still
wasn't.
Gets to it. Everyone just calls up and says, "Oh, she's really good. I want her to win."
Yeah. So whereas in the film they add a kind of seduction scene with Tracy's father and Velma, which I thought was completely unnecessary.
You did comment at the time. Why is this happening? I don't
Why
understand.
Is this happening?
What's her motivation for doing this?
Exactly.
How is this helping?
So this is not in the stage show, but then the film just has a different ending, a little bit of a different ending that I preferred. But overall, I think the music is still, the musical is still very good.
Yeah, because also I like they have the seduction sequence in the film is ridiculous, and then means that John Travolta and Christopher Walken sing "You're Timeless to Me" kind of as a makeup song.
Yes.
And I much prefer in the show they're just love, and it's just a nice relationship that they have, and I prefer that. And also I liked the fact that Les Dennis and Michael Ball kissed
several times.
And I was really disappointed because when the first time they go to kiss, they look like they're going to and they don't.
Yep.
And I went, oh no, I hope one of them wasn't like uncomfortable with it or something. I don't know.
They weren't.
No, they weren't. It turns out they're just building up to kissing multiple times and making lots of amusing, inappropriate jokes, which are very funny.
Yeah, it's a great number, actually. I took
and they pulled it off together.
I took note of a few of my favorite numbers. Mm-hmm. I will obviously start with "Good Morning Baltimore" because I think it's such a great song, and as you were saying, it's almost an I Am song rather than an I Want song. Even though I think she says she has a hunger for something she can't eat, which I love, and I understand. I think she wants something more of life, but she's at that age that she doesn't really know what she wants. So it's great, but and maybe that's why that's what she is, right? I love "Welcome to the 60s." I think it's a great number. It's good fun. I keep singing it in my head. "You're Timeless to Me" is the other one that I took note because I love that. That's such a great number, and also obviously "You Can't Stop the Beat."
Yeah, obviously. Deborah's been trying to learn the dance for next time we go see it.
Let me tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy. If you want to go on YouTube and you can find the actual choreographer of the UK tour teaching you the steps. Good luck. It's so difficult. Maybe I have 2 left feet. Who knows?
We should probably talk briefly about some of the specific cast members.
Sure.
Which I think we've been nothing but positive so far, haven't we? And this is the only major negative I have is to do with one cast member, which is not and it's not an attack on their performance overall. They were actually really good. But it's basically Lizzie B, is that her name? Plays Tracy Timmons.
That's her name. Yes.
Tracy to me is meant to be the best dancer, pretty much on the stage, and unfortunately she wasn't. Because the whole point is Tracy gets on the show because she's such a good dancer, and obviously Lizzie B is a good dancer. Obviously, that's why she's on the stage. But she's unfortunately surrounded by people who are better than her. The guy playing Link, the guy playing Seaweed was an incredible dancer.
Yeah.
So Lizzie B gave a fantastic performance as Tracy.
Very likable.
But unfortunately, she doesn't stand out as being a significantly better dancer than her colleagues. And just plot-wise, that kind of she's meant to be.
So, yes, I thought that too. And then I've been thinking about it, right? Because in the actual stage show, there is no mention of her being the best dancer. This is the case.
That's true.
This is the case in the film.
Okay.
In the stage show, she just says, "I want to go on the show." She tries and she auditions, and then they have her because she is so likable. So I don't know. I'm with you, and at the same time, I don't know how much of it is kind of like pre-constructed in my head from the film.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And don't get me wrong, she is a good dancer. I was just hoping that she'd be significantly better than kind of everyone else. Well, not everyone else, but like than the rest of the female chorus in particular.
Sure.
I suppose.
Sure. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, look, it was also the first night, so we don't know. We'll see it again soon.
Yeah,
hopefully.
we're seeing it again in a few weeks, so we can give you an update.
Yeah.
We talked about Les Dennis already. He was very good. Wish I'd seen Paul Merton as well, but c'est la vie. Michael Ball obviously was fantastic. I didn't even realize it was Michael Ball at the start.
Chris was just like, "Oh, we're not getting Michael Ball," and I was just, but it is Michael Ball.
I guess, and we weren't sitting that far away. I guess he was just he was in character enough that I was temporarily
very good Edna Turnblad.
I was temporarily fooled that it was actually.
It was definitely him.
We talked about Rachel Wallace. Obviously, she got a standing ovation.
She got a standing
for her
ovation
solo,
mid-show,
which I don't approve of, for the record.
But I think it was a combination of being a very emotional number. And I think being such a I
don't think, as wonderful as she was, I don't think it was so much her getting a standing ovation as the Black Lives Matter movement getting a standing ovation.
That's fine. I'm
no, of course, I know. I'm just saying.
Yes, sure.
I don't.
She's thinking about the plight.
Had a singer with half as good as Marisha Wallace sung that I think it still would have gotten a standing ovation.
Oh, I don't think so. I think she was very emotional. I think it was definitely the message, but I also think she brought a lot of feeling.
She was really good. She was really good, but I do think
she brought the song alive.
I do think people were applauding the song.
Yeah, sure.
In our current times, rather than necessarily her.
I think that's a very interesting kind of zeitgeisty moment. So it's. I wonder if this is the case every night, because as we said as well, this was
I'll
the
be
first
interested to see if it happens again.
This is the first performance. Everyone's it's very excited, so it's a bit different.
Rita Simons, is that her name, playing
Simon Cruella de Vil.
So I'm not a big fan of her number. I think her number is a bit too, and I also don't like, because she is freaking evil.
Oh yes,
I don't like that. She says like some nasty things as puns, like super racist things as puns, and it's almost weird how subtly like she is like unbelievably racist.
Yes, I was actually
like
going to mention
hates
that,
black people. She is awful.
Yeah, so I was saying that the show kind of does move away from the white savior, mostly, fairly competently. However, her end, because she gets a happy ending. This character gets a happy ending. She gets a promotion. She gets a promotion to manage kind of like the black women's hair products.
Yeah, that's her penalty.
But to me, that was horrendous. To me, that's actually something that needs to be changed, especially considering the history that black women have with hair, and again, go read Emma Dabry, because she has a book about it. But yeah, so I think, especially considering that, I think it's such a this is literally cultural appropriation. That's what it is. And then that's what she gets at the end. That's her punishment. But it's not actually a punishment, because she's in a position of power.
Exactly.
So I think they should move. I'm all for her daughter to be redeemed, because she's a teenager and she's kind of copying her mother. I can see that there's some way for.
But redemption. She isn't even, and weird enough, she's redeemed in the film a bit, because she starts dancing with the black
And they
teenager.
do too in the stage on stage. Yeah. She's
well, they all start swapping partners at the end.
Yeah, but I do think that the Velma's character should not have had that ending.
No, it's insane, and like I said, because it's weird because she's the only like what's the word, deliberately, intentionally calculated racist in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Everyone else is who, I mean, no one else kind of makes nasty comments.
No, even
Corny Collins, the host of the show, wants to integrate his show. The producer is kind of the other one. He's kind of like,
but he's after money.
He just wants money.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. He'll integrate or not integrate, whichever gets him more money.
Yeah.
He's
exactly.
which obviously doesn't make him a good guy. He's not for.
No, but he's not portrayed as completely racist. He's just, well, he is.
He'll be racist if it makes him money.
Well, yes.
He's motivated by greed, not racism, which is bad, but I suppose it's not quite as bad, maybe. Anyway, he's still playing a societal role, right? She is racist because she just hates. Yeah. Clearly, because she says such awful things, and
she is also fat phobic, all throughout. She fat shames like Tracy. She fat shames Edna.
Yeah, she's one of the nastiest human beings.
Horrible,
like, and that's the other thing. Like I said, no other character is remotely as evil. Is everyone else? Like I said, all other depictions of racism are societal and systemic, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to calculated hate, which is what she is.
Yeah.
And I find it weird that in such a feel good, happy show, you've got a character who is so freaking evil, who gets a happy ending, and who gets this weird Disney panto villain style song.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I didn't like that song because you're not Cruella de Vil. You're worse than Cruella de Vil.
I enjoyed the song. Because it's very early in the show, and I think the song's quite fun.
But she's already said. I don't even want to.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah,
I don't even
true.
want to repeat it because it's not. It doesn't have any slurs or anything. But I still don't want to repeat it because it's just nasty.
No, she is horrible. But yeah, so I liked it. What I think I like is just the fact that it seems like a Disney song. And Disney villain songs are usually fun. However,
that's why I don't like it, because
it's
making light of, like, she's one of the worst villains.
That's true.
She's one of the worst humans in musical theatre.
You changed my mind about it now. It's true.
I'm sure, because musical theatre, generally speaking, doesn't deal with super dark topics. I'm trying to think.
No, when usually
name a musical theatre villain who you would what's the word, like, cast out of the room before her.
Yeah, I mean, probably wouldn't have Phantom in the room, but he's not really a villain. He's just a weirdo.
I'd rather have the Phantom in the room with me than her.
Because if he's in the room with you, he can't do very much to you, because he does it when you're not seeing.
Just keep your hand at the level of your eyes, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I was disappointed that she had. I know. Look, it's a kind of throwaway sentence. Someone says that she got this job, and she kind of reacts to it.
I'm going to have to manage black women's products. Like, what?
Yeah, I was disappointed. I don't think she should. I think, I was even thinking that usually when you have villains in musical theatre, they usually are redeemable. To, like, not necessarily that they become good people, but they do something that is a good thing. She doesn't even get that. She doesn't even have the moment of saying,
no, she's not taught the error ways.
It's actually a good thing. Maybe even at the end, even if she just said, it's actually a good thing they're dancing together. There's nothing. That is nothing.
Yeah, and I think the overall tone of the show, the overall tone of the show masks just how you will sit through that entire show, and if you don't think about it afterwards, you will never have you may well not have noticed or realized just how terrible she is.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think so as a result, I wasn't keen on her. I disapprove of her portrayal.
Yeah, and her ending.
Yes,
as well.
And her ending.
Is it the case in the film as well? I can't remember if Michelle Pfeiffer.
No, she gets sacked. She gets sacked.
Yeah. See, so the film did some good things. And John Travolta's pretty good in it. I said it.
The film made some positive changes and some negative changes.
Yes.
That's the one that's Anyway,
that's the big one. Yeah. But I think overall, have we got to this bit? Do you want more?
But that's like we've been incredibly positive. We've had one negative about kind of the actual show itself, the script, I guess, about how it deals with its villain.
It's no fault of the actor, right?
No, of course not.
It's just, I think the way the script is. I think everything considering it's a new production. they could have changed that. I feel, especially her ending. Do you want to keep if you want to keep everything as is throughout, maybe finish and change her ending. Yeah. Maybe just sack her. You know.
Yeah, because and musicals do sometimes make changes from films and such.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a very good change, just to give her a bad ending.
Yeah, exactly.
Give her a bad ending.
She deserves a bad ending. She's awful.
And give us a clearer visual representation of her daughter leaving her mother's views behind her.
Oh yes, because that's another thing as well. Because Penny, Tracy's best friend, she also kind of steps away from her mother.
But her mother accepts that at the end as well.
Yeah, well, yes. So we have this because we have a lot. There's a lot of kind of mother-daughter, kind of moments in this show, and
there's a whole number about. But Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Yes, the one that's not in the film.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Which is a great number. But it's if Penny has this movement, makes this movement as well as moving away from a mother who's kind of very puritanical almost and very proper, and Penny wants to dance, and Penny falls in love with seaweed, so we have an interracial couple going on there, and her mother kind of accepts it, and because her mother is just kind of small-minded, but never kind of openly racist as Velma.
No, she's no exactly. Prudence is a member of a racist society,
and she acts like it.
And that's actually a really good example of what I was kind of the difference I was making between and therefore she's not irredeemable. And because it's a feel-good show, obviously she's redeemed very easily and quickly. Presumably in real life, people who've been conditioned to think that way.
She chains her daughter to the bed, but that's
which is quite amusing.
It's quite funny.
And I also want to mention that Marissa Wallace's character Motormouth at one point says, because she's Seaweed's mother, she comments, I can't remember exactly what the quote is, something like, "You better be prepared for a whole parade of judgment or something coming at you."
A whole lot of stupid
from a never-ending parade of stupid or something like that. Yeah. It's so they don't really address the fact that they're going to have that. They don't massively address the fact that interracial couples going to have a tough time, but they do pay lip service to the fact that this is not going to be easy for them.
No, because this is the happy ending we don't get to see afterwards.
Exactly.
We get that they're happy now. They'll have trials and tribulations afterwards, but this is for a different show.
But overall, I'm assuming from mostly lack of criticism, you can tell we highly recommend
it. Oh my goodness, yes. As I said before, I watched the film before going to the show and then went to the show, and now I cannot stop listening to the soundtrack. I'm obsessed.
If we were to use a star rating system, which of course we don't, but always say we don't, and then say what our hypothetical rating would be, which means that we get to have a rating system whilst not having a rating system. This would be for me. Here's the thing: I did give this a standing ovation at the end, but the reason I gave it a standing ovation was because I felt I couldn't stay in my seat at the concept of integration. Yes. So I gave a standing ovation to the depiction of integration. The show itself is actually a 5-star show for me, but just falls below, because as I think I've mentioned before, maybe we should have a whole topic talking about standing ovations one day. Standing ovations to me are super precious, and they should be given out incredibly sparingly. And I think the comment I made to Deborah was, I can't see Michael Ball sing Anthem on that same stage and then give this a standing ovation.
Yes, I disagree with you in that particular sense. I think there's different types of standing ovations, and there's different types of 5-star shows.
But yeah, this to me, standing ovation is the highest praise.
We might have to just start rating our shows.
I'm one step. I would give it 5 stars, but without a standing ovation. That's what I would give.
Okay. I mean, I would give it a 5 stars as well, and I would be happy to stand up. Especially.
But you gave it a standing ovation immediately, didn't you?
Yeah. And you can't really stay on your seat because there's dancing involved. And you can make yourself look a fool by not knowing the steps.
We did try to dance a bit at the end.
Yeah, I learned one of the steps. So watch this space.
But yeah, I think So Hairspray is at the London Coliseum until.
It's until the 29th of September, so you have some time to go see it.
Yes, and we absolutely recommend you do. If you give any credit to our opinion, go check out Hairspray.
Definitely. I mean, we have tickets to see it again, and I'm already thinking of going to see it a third time. Yeah. So that's the type of show it is.
I think if I was a betting man, everyone place your bets now. I think Deborah's going to see this 5 times before it closes.
that's my bet as well.
Deborah has several friends she goes to see shows without me as well, so I think she'll take several of them to the Hairspray.
Highly likely.
But yeah, let us know what you guys thought of Hairspray if you do get to see it, and we really think you should. Restricted.view on Instagram. Let us know what you think, guys.
So, if you've been checking out our Instagram page recently, you will have seen that we went to the Hairspray Theatre a few weeks ago to see Walden, which is a new production. We obviously didn't review it here because it was a very short run. It's actually part of the Re-Emerge season by Sonia Friedman, I believe.
We did give it a very short written review on our Instagram page.
Yeah, we're hoping to do that to other shows that we get to, that we see and don't review here. So this is to say that we have been at the Hairspray Theatre recently, and today's tip is to do with that particular theatre, and especially to do with accessibility. Because for the first time, and we were very lucky, I mean, we're called Restricted View, but for the first time we were not in the stalls in that theatre. This is very, very posh.
We were in the dress circle.
We were in the dress circle, you know, and it was the first time we went to the dress circle at the Hairspray Theatre. And we noticed that there are no toilets on that level.
Whatsoever.
No toilets whatsoever. And this is a problem. If you are like me, this is a problem.
And it's particularly a problem because the dress circle is actually at street level.
Yes, exactly. So the first thing that occurred to me when we were kind of you know, brainstorming what we were going to talk about today was just the fact that if you're going to the Pinter, go to the toilet first and then get your seat, especially during COVID, because you want to get, you know...
Yeah, because there is a much longer... There's
longer queues.
There's a huge rush for toilets. And
exactly.
Obviously, you're trying to social distance.
So there are toilets in the stalls, and there are toilets in the upper circles and balcony as well.
Yeah, but there's not enough. The Hairspray full stop is short of toilets.
It is. It's not as bad as some other theatres I've been to.
But it's not good.
But it's not great.
No.
It is a very small old theatre, so you know we kind of understand. But you know maybe it's time to add more stalls.
Yeah. So as a generic tip, it's just be aware of that, and maybe if you're between the dress circle and the stalls for the same price tickets, maybe get the stalls so you can access toilets more easily.
If that's something that matters to you, but especially now because we have some different kind of guidelines to go to the theatre. Maybe make sure to go before you take your seat so you don't have to keep coming up and down. You know, sometimes people like to take their seats and then go to the toilet. This is one of the ones that you should probably go before. But I think the other thing is as well that if you're going to, if you have mobility issues, maybe, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to know what you do. Probably sit in the dress circle.
You will presumably sit in the dress circle because first of all, it's good seats. Second of all, it's accessible. It's at street level.
Yeah.
You don't
so be aware
steps.
of that. So maybe not get stuck, because usually people think I do think of the stalls as being more accessible, but definitely not the case every time.
And as a result, because obviously they have to have bathrooms accessible for all. What the Hairspray Theatre seems to have is they seem to have an agreement with the Strada restaurant across the street. So people from the dress circle can use those bathrooms. I assume they only offer that to people with mobility issues or disabilities, because we were certainly not offered the opportunity to use that. Because
it's a lot of steps going up and down if you were to go to the stalls or the dress circle.
And it is something to be, it's just something to be aware of. If you are someone who has a disability or any kind of mobility issue, and you're going to prefer to sit in the dress circle at the Hairspray Theatre because it's at street level, you will either be faced with stairs up or down to a bathroom, or you'll have to exit the theatre and cross into a restaurant, and that's just something to be aware of, because that might be something that would frustrate you, or just a pain. Is it just
definitely. Like if you have a broken leg, for example, even not necessarily even wheelchair, but you know, if it's something that just restricts your movement in any way.
But for this Re-Emerge season, certainly for Walden, I believe for Jouvert, which is open now, there's no interval. So if you're coming from a cafe or you're coming from a restaurant or something, just go there and then take your seat, and you don't have to worry about it, because there is no interval. You're just going to see the show with an empty bladder, and all will be well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just definitely something to be aware of, particularly if you have mobility issues of any kind.
Yeah, they also have lots of pillars at the Pinter, so also when you're buying tickets, especially in the stalls, just be aware, because they do sell tickets literally behind pillars. Avoid them, or maybe buy them if they're like £5. I don't know.
No. We've mentioned before that restricted view sometimes means pretty okay, and sometimes it means literally can't see.
Yeah.
So yeah, the bonus Harold Pinter Theatre fact is, if it says view may be obstructed by a pillar,
it will be.
Do not buy it. You're going to be looking at a pillar.
Yeah.
and nothing else.
And look, I'm sure pillars sometimes are better than certain plays. I'm not saying it isn't the case, but that's not what you want if you're going to pay for tickets.
Most things we've seen in the Harold Pinter Theatre have been pretty good.
Exactly. Yeah, it pains us to say these things about theatre that I particularly like so much because I have fond memories of the theatre, but it has its shortcomings.
It definitely does, yeah. But yeah, anyway, so just keep that in mind, guys, if you ever go to the Harold Pinter Theatre. So this week in our Far Too Many Notes section, we are talking about a topic which I think we've touched upon in the past. Mm-hmm. So we're going to jump into a bit more detail, although we're not entirely sure how to tackle this topic. The topic is stunt casting, which is definitely it's definitely a topic worth hashing out in the world of theatre. Stunt casting, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Well, it's a bad thing. And that's the end of the... No, I'm joking.
That's the end of the podcast.
I'm joking. What is stunt casting? Stunt casting is basically when directors and casting directors cast...
And producers, usually.
Cast somebody because of who they are and not what they can do. That's probably the best way of putting it.
Yes.
But
sometimes who they are and what they... So the casting sometimes is matched. So sometimes they're famous and they're good. But that's not always the case.
Well, yeah, because so Deborah and I were actually kind of having a pre-discussion about this and trying to kind of define what we were talking about with stunt casting. Because, for example, Deborah brought up Brendan Urie being cast in Kinky Boots. Brendan Urie is a singer by trade. He's a damn good singer as well. And lots of musical theatre actors aren't actors; they're singers first, and then Michael Ball wasn't an actor to begin with. So, by that logic, Michael Ball being cast in anything is stunt casting, but obviously it's not. He's a musical theatre actor now. That's what he does. Mm-hmm. Brendan Urie is a fantastic singer. He was cast in a musical. I think that's fine, personally. Stunt casting, to me, is more when someone hasn't got any of the talents, or isn't... It hasn't got any of the... Because it hasn't got the training nor the experience to do something that they're now doing. As I said, it's when you're cast because of who you are, not because of what you did, not because of what you can do. So even if you do technically have the ability and the talent, if you're being cast because of who you are, it's still stunt casting.
Yeah, and I think it's quite complicated, and you probably have more to say about it than I will, in the sense of. There are so many people out there who have had years of training and can't get jobs, and often are very talented, but they are not famous. They don't have a following.
And there are so many famous pop artists who can't hold a candle to the vocal performance of some random guy who went to the Guildford School of Acting.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then those people don't get... look... I am going to admit that I have been guilty, and I'm sure will be guilty in the future again, of going to the theatre to see an actor I like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've all done it.
And this is just the way it is. This is why they do it. They do it because it means bums on seats. That's what it means. People will go to the theatre to see the actor they like. However, it can be very disappointing when they're not good, and that does happen.
And that's what you can argue it's a good thing for the theatre financially if it gets bums on seats, but is it a good thing for theatre if you get suboptimal performances because of stunt casting? No, I don't think it's good. It is a bad thing for the art of theatre if you cast someone simply because of who they are, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've done it as well, I guess, but I think generally speaking, I try to avoid going to see stuff just because of who's in it.
Yeah, it's hard, and I think one of the things that comes to mind is usually both musicals and plays they get film actors.
Yeah.
People who have never done anything but cinema, and who are very famous. And I think film acting is very different from theatre acting. I haven't done either, so I can't really confirm. But I'm sure it is the case.
They're very different.
It's different. It requires different skills from you. So I do think it ends up being a problem. We saw a few years ago. We saw Chicago. I can't even remember what theatre it was. The Phoenix.
It was the Phoenix.
The Phoenix. Yes, on Charing Cross Road. We saw Chicago, which well, look, for example, Chicago is a film I really like with actors who are not really singers, and I think it's actually a pretty decent film. However, the actual stage show, one, I mean, look, this is not a review of Chicago, but I'm just going to say it. It's not great.
Well, we weren't particularly keen on the show. Full
no,
stop.
exactly,
But
it's a very kind of.
But maybe if we'd seen a better. I mean, basically what Deborah's dancing around is that Cuba Gooding Jr., the Oscar-winning actor, played. Oh, I can't remember his name because I don't care about the show. Played the
Mr. Cellophane. What's his name?
Played the male lead, and he was appallingly bad.
Yeah.
Appallingly bad. It bewildered me how his acting was terrible, and he there was a moment which really betrayed the fact that he's a film actor, not a TV actor, where something went wrong basically, and he just pretended it didn't happen, which is because obviously in a film, if you're recording a scene and something goes wrong, the director
It was a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, the director will say cut, and they'll try again. If it happens, hello. Our cat is saying hello to you all. If something goes wrong in a stage show, however, you have to keep going. So the best thing to do, here I fit.
He's holding a note.
The best thing to do is to acknowledge what happened. So
yes.
And Cuba Gooding Jr. literally. So
well, there are two things, right? You either acknowledge it or you ignore it.
His cuff. No, you don't ignore it. You acknowledge it. His cuffling went flying when he gestured with his hand. And he paused for maybe a second and a half, and I could see the cogs turning in his head, panicking as to what to do.
I am cringing a little bit.
And then he just continued his sentence and ignored the fact that his cuff was now flapping. It was the funniest thing, and any stage actor worth their salt will know what. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do, but just be like, oh blast or something. It's not, be contextually appropriate to the period and the character, and acknowledge, and then do up your instead of moving your hand at a 45-degree angle to the right as you rehearsed. Instead, grab your cuff and fold it up, because that's what a gentleman will do if they're cuffling. I mean, best case thing to do, actually. I mean, the cuffling I think went flying off stage. Best thing to do is to pick the damn thing up.
Yeah, and I actually think that probably the person he was doing the scene with should probably have picked it up, because it went their way.
Yeah.
As anyone would do. Like if something that someone's wearing kind of falls your way, you're gonna pick it up and hand it to them.
Yeah.
But I think his reaction, the fact that he stopped, looked at it. He looked at its trajectory off stage, and then kept up with his line. I was just like, no, don't do that. That's so cringe.
But I mean, his acting full stop was pretty poor. Because he's a film.
Yeah.
Presumably, he gets unlimited takes to nail his Oscar.
I mean, if you've watched all the extra content in the Lord of the Rings DVDs, you'll know how many takes they do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like yeah, he was bad full stop, but also he's a really terrible singer.
Yeah,
like, he's a terrible singer, and it was genuinely pathetic. At one point, he holds a note for, I don't know, 5 seconds, and the note is incredibly shaky. I'm not even sure it was the right note. It sounds awful. It was unpleasant to my ears. And one of the poor girl, I feel so sorry for her. An actual proper musical theatre actress was clearly told by the director to kneel down, raise her arms as if presenting his sustained note, and then gesture towards the audience to start applauding, and try to start applauding herself to try to get the audience to applaud this sustained note, which was trash. It was uncomfortable to watch, because it was like someone. It was like someone, I don't know, like a grown adult making a painting of the quality of a 4-year-old, and then their friends genuinely seeking to make people applaud for them. It was embarrassing. Basically it was absolute trash art shown, and then other people had been paid to try and get you to claim the art was good. It was so bad. It was. Yeah. I felt uncomfortable.
And it was very bad.
It was almost surreal the way I suddenly was super aware. It actually shattered the illusion of the stage in an
It
instant.
broke the fourth wall very much.
Well, the fourth wall was deliberately broken by her asking for the applause, but the
suspension of disbelief was totally gone.
Yeah, like in an instant, I was aware that I was in it. I kind of suddenly, it's very hard to explain. My peripheral vision suddenly opened, and I could suddenly see all the other audience. Because you get tunnel vision on the stage in a good show, and I could, in an instant, I could see everyone else in the audience. I was like, oh yeah, I'm sitting in a theater watching a bunch of people be terrible. And it was oh my god, I can't get over how.
So that's one of the reasons why stunt casting is bad, isn't it?
Cuba Gooding Jr. should have his Oscar taken away from him. That's how bad he was. I haven't seen the film he won the Oscar in, but
yeah, maybe he's good in that. He was not good. He's not a musical actor. He was not good in that particular production. Maybe he was good on a different night. I don't know. No, not giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Of course not. Nobody can be that bad. And not always be that bad. Like, oh my god, he can't sing and he can't act live.
Yeah,
he was appalling.
And I mean, look, his Chicago is not the only show to do this. It's become a new trend now to also have YouTubers on stage. Is this bad? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they're not actors. Of course, it's bad.
But what if they want to become actors? I don't know.
Well, then the first step isn't to get on a West End stage.
Well, quite. Yes, I'm with you there. I am with you there.
Joe Sugg was for some reason casting waitress. I don't know why.
Yeah, we also I think Tanya Burr as well did a play at the Southwark Playhouse, which we didn't see Joe Sugg or Tanya Burr, but she got really bad reviews for her acting. Not only the play got bad reviews, like she also got bad reviews.
She got like panned for her acting.
Yeah, which is bad, and she apparently is trying to be a proper actress, so we'll see how she gets on. But yeah, so I think I feel I haven't studied theatre, and I haven't. That's not my. It's not what I do, but I think I would be really upset if I saw people taking roles that I could have had.
That's the problem. It's stunt. That's the main problem with stunt casting. We've talked about in the past. When we reference stunt casting, how the one good thing about stunt casting can be that it draws people to theatre who otherwise wouldn't go. And I've said before, the sad thing isn't when people go to see an actor they really want to see. The sad thing is when they don't come back. They see the actor they liked and they go and they're not. That doesn't open the door to them to be enthralled by theatre. Mm-hmm. That's the sad thing. So that's the one good thing about stunt casting. The one credit you can give it is that it brings people to theatre who wouldn't have come otherwise. But even that positive then has a really ugly side, which is you're taking work away from people who've actually worked hard to get there, mm-hmm. and who frankly would be better. Yeah,
and often as well who have like fewer means to even get by. I know this is quite deep, but like Cuba Gooding Jr. doesn't really need the money, does he?
No, absolutely not. And that's particularly poignant point to make now.
After just coming up from like just reopening right after.
Yeah, when so many artists, theatre artists, have not been paid for a year, haven't had work for so long. Mm-hmm. Another kind of talking, so stunt casting sometimes is casting. So Cuba Gooding Jr. was in Chicago was the epitome of pure stunt casting, where the guy has not got the ability nor the talent to do the job. Mm-hmm. And he's cast anyway, and then there's more minor versions of which is when someone technically speaking might have the ability, but it's still being cast because of who they are only. An example of this I would use is Tom Hiddleston in Betrayal, because the thing I always find slightly weird and suspicious about this is that the Pinter season at the Pinter was announced as being 7 shows.
Yeah, so this was 2018, I want to say. Yeah. The Harrow Pinter Theatre, as we were talking about it before, it did a Pinter season, mm-hmm. and they put on all of his plays, all of his short plays. All of his short plays, I think, yes. Yeah. So it was 7 plays, seven visits to the theatre with several little plays.
And some of the productions were 2 one-act plays, which were so each half of the show was 1 play, and other ones were like 5 or 6 10-minute plays.
Yeah, this was the Jamie Lloyd company, actually.
Yeah, and it was fantastic.
And in fact, this had lots and lots and lots of big names.
Yep.
Even Danny Dyer.
Yeah, and he was actually quite good.
He was actually quite good.
Oh yeah, Martin Freeman was in it as well.
Martin Freeman was in it.
Danny Dyer knew
Martin Freeman is also very good.
But funny enough, David Suchet I thought was one of the weakest actors in the entire run.
There you go.
And we've seen him. We saw him in something else. I didn't like him in either.
He's a good Poirot. Give him that.
He's a good Poirot.
And then they added. So towards the end of that season, they announced Betrayal.
Yeah, it was announced as seven shows.
Yes, and then they announced Betrayal, which is a full length. It's a full length play.
Yeah, exactly.
Which with Tom Hiddleston, Charlie Cox, I believe, who played what's his name? I don't know.
Daredevil.
Daredevil. And Zoe Ashton as well, who's pretty popular here in the UK because she's done Fresh Meat, which is a Channel 4 comedy. So it's only three.
Is it
three
Zoe
characters.
Ashton?
Yeah.
I thought it was something else.
Oh, I think it's Zoe. Well,
okay,
anyway.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point I'm making, right? It was announced as a 7-show run, and then halfway through, suddenly there was an 8th show. It was also meant to be his short plays, and then suddenly the 8th show was a full show.
Yeah.
I am 99% sure that Tom Hiddleston met Jamie Lloyd in a coffee shop and went, "Oh, I would have loved to have done one of those Pinter shows. Oh, will you do one for me?" I don't know. Maybe.
Well, it felt very much. I mean, the whole kind of staging. It was actually the weakest one by far of all of them.
It was trash.
You could see it wasn't trash, but it was the weakest one.
But it was trash. It was so bad compared to the rest of them.
Yeah. So I think
I was bored.
Pinter,
I love Pinter, and I was bored.
There's a lot of.
There wasn't even tables. They put their drinks on the floor. There was no set, there was no proper blocking, there was no staging. It was bad. It was a bad production, and the performances were flat. I just didn't care.
Yeah, Chris doesn't have strong opinions.
Oh my god!
But yeah, so I think especially having seen the other plays in this season, and how well thought they were. You know, there was a lot of thought put into those performances and the set designs and everything. Even when they were quite minimalistic, there was still quite a lot to it. In this particular case, in Betrayal, there was really nothing. And this particular in Betrayal was the one as well that transferred to Broadway, obviously because of the cast.
Yeah, exactly. And because they were cast because of who they were. They were not cast because of what they could bring.
I don't even think that. I think in this particular situation, it's not even the fact that they can't act because I do think
they can act, and Tom Hiddleston is a stage actor.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
Well,
he technically has the chops, but he doesn't necessarily have the chops to play that role, and that's the thing.
No, and I mean, look, and maybe it was because it was such a it felt less last minute.
It felt rushed.
It felt very rushed, and I think that's possibly one of the problems. And this was a stunt casting of another type, right? Because it was also at the end of the season, so you got people to go see Harold Pinter, which is quite a difficult playwright to see in a way. Like his plays are not necessarily the easier. You know, it's not like Hairspray that.
Yes, you have to be willing to engage with it on a slightly higher level.
It's one of those that you have to be able to kind of come out of the theatre saying, "I didn't get it," and that's fine. Yeah,
you have to be paying attention, and even then.
Or maybe not. Maybe next time I'll try not to pay attention and see what happens.
Just let it wash over you. I don't think Pinter can wash over you.
Becky can though. Anyway, this is a different conversation, but so I think that there are some pros, and I think theatre has gone through some difficult times, and I wouldn't blame producers, especially in small theatres, for trying to get big names and trying to bring people in the theatre. I don't think that, for example, I don't think Jamie Lloyd needs to do it because his plays are so popular. Whenever he puts something on, it's just popular, right?
But they're usually quite good as well.
And they're usually very good, exactly. So yeah, I think it's a complicated subject, and I would be curious to hear your thoughts on it, especially because this is not just in the theatre, and I believe this happens in Hollywood as well, that people get roles because they're famous. It's a bit like, you know, when you're seeing that, you know, the Big Brother guy in a film, when there's so many more competent people that could be doing that role, you know, could be playing that role. And I think that's definitely the case. It does happen, and it does happen in theatre as well, and it's a little bit sad, I think, when that happens.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jamie Lloyd has a habit of stunt casting, doesn't he, really?
But he gets big actors.
He got James McAvoy to do.
He's worked with James McAvoy several times. Yeah, but he's done Macbeth as well.
Amelia Clark was going to do The Seagull, which I think she still might do. I'm not sure if that's still going ahead.
Yes, and Jessica Chastain was going to do Doll's House.
Who's Jessica Chastain?
She's very famous too.
there's massive gaps in my knowledge of celebrities. But yeah, so look.
But that's not necessarily a problem. I think that's maybe we're just going in circles here. I don't think it's necessarily a problem, especially when you're casting people who are actually actors or actually singers.
Well, no, because if you go too far the other way, then once you become too famous, you're no longer allowed to be cast.
Yeah.
I mean, because Martin Freeman was in Pinter.
Yes.
He was in The Dumb and I think he did a really good job.
And he did a good job in Richard III as well, which is Jamie Lloyd.
He did, yeah. And I know, I remember seeing on Facebook on random people saying, tagging each other, because you can see obviously all comments pretty much if it's the theatre, like Harold Pinter's post of advertising The Dumbwaiter.
Yeah.
I saw countless people tagging friends and going, "Oh my God, Martin Freeman, we have to go see him," right? And that's exactly what they're trying to do. But Martin Freeman, in my opinion, gets a pass because that's what he does, and he does it really well.
And it was really well thought through that particular play.
Yeah, exactly, and he was the right man for that role. So that's not stunt casting. That's a super happy coincidence that the right man for that job is gonna pull loads of people in, and that's the thing, right? I don't think you might maybe that is.
It is stunt casting, but no, it doesn't.
So
but there are different types,
I
right?
define stunt casting as when it's different. That's not stunt casting because he's the right man for the job, and it's a happy coincidence that he's going to draw lots of extra people in who wouldn't have gone to see it otherwise. People who are going to see it just to see Martin Freeman and who don't give a hoot about Pinter. That's fine because because then everyone wins, right? The person who wants to see Martin Freeman gets to see Martin Freeman, and me who wants to go see a brilliant production of a Pinter play gets to see a brilliant production of a Pinter play. The problem is when you cast Cuba Gooding Jr. and people who want to see him just stand on a stage get to, and people like me who wanted to see a competent production of Chicago end up feeling like they wasted their money. Yes. That's the issue. That's when stunt casting goes wrong. Yes,
I agree. I don't think I have much to add to it. I think it's definitely one of those topics that we'll come back to at some point, because whenever it's inevitable that people will be announced for roles and we won't be pleased with it, or we will be pleased with it and we want to see it and we'll talk about it. You know, because I think, look, I've seen I've seen David Tennant and Catherine Tate together just after Doctor Who in Much Ado About Nothing, and it was absolutely fantastic. They were great together. They have great chemistry. It was just very good, and I love that play. But then there's the opposite. There's the Cuba Gooding Juniors, you know, out and about, and that's not very good. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll come back to it again. I'd love, again, as I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, because it's definitely a controversial one.
Yes, but it should. As I say, I don't think it should be. People should be cast for merit, not because of who they are.
Yeah, so I think the main problem is when someone who's very talented doesn't get the role because someone who has 1 million followers on Instagram gets the role, and that's where it hurts.
That happens, and that's not good, and that's a bad thing, I think. But do let us know what you think, if you agree or disagree. Restricted.view, as always. Give us a comment and let us know what you think about stunt casting. Have you been disappointed by stunt casting? Have you been pleasantly surprised by stunt casting? I'd be very interested to hear your opinion.
Yes.
So that's about all we have time for today on the Restricted View podcast. Do make sure you join us next week when we're going to be doing another review.
Yeah, because we keep going to shows now.
I know.
It's just a thing that's happening.
We actually, there's a show we saw a couple of weeks ago which we still haven't gotten around to reviewing.
Yes.
Because we're also trying to review things in the correct order where they're going to be the most helpful to people.
Yes, exactly. And this particular show is not going anywhere. So I'm sure you can wait to hear our thoughts on it.
Well, yes, we're probably going to have reviews in most likely at least our next 3 episodes, I would have thought.
Yes.
So definitely keep an eye out for that. We'll be dropping that next week. Next Monday we'll be dropping our next episode. In the meantime, please do make sure you follow us on restricted.view on Instagram.
Yeah, and follow our kind of theatre escapades.
Yes.
We'll be going to shows and posting there.
Exactly, and if we do see another, we might end up going to see the next re-emerge play, Jouvert.
Yes.
Which we would not.
Only another week to go. So.
Exactly, so that's why we wouldn't do a full review on that, because it wouldn't be helpful to anybody. But we might post a short review again, like we did with Walden, on the Instagram page.
Yeah, let us know if that's helpful to you as well, because I know like you're listening to this, but maybe you also kind of like to know what we thought about other plays that we're not reviewing here, so we can talk about them on Instagram. We can talk about other things as well.
Exactly. Any suggestions for things you'd like us to talk about, or any questions you have for us?
Theatre related mostly.
Yes. Or about our cats. You can ask questions about our cats if you like. Just stick them, throw them into the comments.
That is a show. So we could definitely like shoehorn our cats.
We can make that work.
Yeah.
And one of them even shares a name with a cat from Cats. So yeah, definitely throw in your questions and suggestions into onto the restriction.view on Instagram, and we will see you, or you will hear us next time.
Yes, till next time.